Hi, everybody. Okay, this is going to be short because I have to go get kids to take them to the dentist. But I wanted to hop back on and talk about property tax revaluations part three. Thrice. Okay, talking about the third phase. The third phase for me is documentation, collecting it all together. I mean, I'm already doing it for my taxes and everything else, mine as well, right? But a couple of updates, right? So since we talked last, we had some questions, right? My main questions at this juncture were what does the format of the property tax revaluation appeal need to look like, such that it's heard, and what is all the supporting documentation needed such that they can make the most efficient use of their time, right? So I've called and left a couple of messages with the Craven County Tax Office. I can only imagine how overwhelmed those poor people are, considering just the buzz I hear about this whole situation online. But we have this form. I ended up calling the Department of Revenue, and let me tell you why. The North Carolina State Department of Revenue. And here's why. I'm going to share my screen. I literally did a quick Google search and said, what does the format of a property tax appeal look like? Question mark, enter. All these search results came up, one of which took me to the North Carolina Department of Revenue, NCDOR. They have a 53-page manual on appeals for property taxes. Who knew? Because it's not mentioned on the website that I see, and it's not mentioned on this cute little form that I see. So again, in this 53-page manual, there is a section down here in the table of comments called formatting. But if you go to page 25 of 53, it is the format of a notice of a meeting. So when I called the Department of Revenue, my essential goal was to understand, where are we at in the process here? I don't want a meeting. I just want to be able to submit my information by May 22nd and make it the best use of everyone's time, correct? And so what Jeff works at the Department of Revenue, the state level. He is who is assigned to help support Craven County for any questions, comments, concerns that either the local county have or that state residents have, and they're not getting those answers from the county. So if you want to call the North Carolina State Department of Revenue and have any questions, Jeff is who we want to talk to. And I didn't get a last name. They were very informal about the whole situation. And that number is 877-252-4498. But I would call if you have questions. Maybe you'll get a response faster than me. The number that it gives us to call on the form, it gives us 3 numbers to call. For real estate appraisal, call 252-636-6640. I don't want an appraisal done. For personal property, call 252-636-6604. I got stuck in a wide web of automated prompts for numbers that meant nothing to me. And then for tax collection, which we're not there yet, 252-636-6605. So again, I don't do well with craziness like that. I want to talk to somebody. I want to talk to them now. I have questions. I called Jeff at the North Carolina Department of Revenue, and his number is 877-252-4498. So I'm going to just pause from here for a second. Jeff's thought on the whole informal appeal process. He asked if I had filed an informal appeal. It does say on the North Carolina Department of Revenue site and the Craven County site, your first thing that you want to do, look, I can even show you. I Googled it, like I said. And the first thing that you want to do, look right here. How do I appeal property tax assessment? In many cases, your first step is to contact the tax office informally to seek to resolve without an appeal. But we were all sent appeals forms. So that doesn't seem to be the appropriate first step. So he said what he would do is fill out this form, submit whatever information I felt was necessary. That is comps based on the GIS that Craven County provides on their website. That is also the comps that we have from our appeal. He did say that he thought our appeal, even though we purchased in 2021, would be considered dated, although there's no documentation as far as process or policy that states the number of years that an appeal or that an appraisal is good for before it is considered outdated. So there's that. And let's just put a pin in all this and just say, I do federal contracting for a living. I write proposals. For example, I just finished one that was due yesterday at noon. And this is what a proposal looks like. This is the federal government saying we need somebody to do some work. Here's what we need. This is for the Department of Interior, the Millennium Challenge Corporation. Anyway, this is a 71-page RFP for a 16-page response. So when I get into the details and into the weeds of what is the process, what is the timeline, what do you need from us to make the most efficient use of your time, I'm used to dealing with government giving me a dissertation on what they want, where they literally say in this, there is no need to be long-winded here. We want you to be brief and succinct. That's not the correct use of this word here, but it literally says in here at some point, provide brief resumes. Letters of commitment are required, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, they say in here, do not be long-winded. Please be efficient. Don't waste our time. And that's what I'm used to dealing with. I'm also used to them saying, your format should be on 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with 1-inch margins, and you will use Times New Roman for text in 12-point font. You will use the Arial family for 9-point font and tables and 8-point font for graphics. So I am used to being told by the government, this is how we want to see this. And for something like this that comes across as very personal to people that are not as rigorous in the types of content that they read and or respond to on a regular basis, this is very hard when you're not given a format. So his suggestion, going back to Jeff's suggestion, was we complete this Craven County informal appeal form, submit whatever supplemental documentation I feel is warranted. For example, I will likely I will get this, you're not seeing it. Why are you not seeing it? Okay. I will get this file that we've been working on, correct? Why are you not seeing that? This file that we've been working on, I will get that to where it prints on singular pages, and I will add some narrative here that says these are the prompts that the Craven County GIS gives me. These are the 3 properties that were included in our appraisal when we purchased our property. The only things I have added to this since phase 2, or the video 2 that I did, was I wanted to break out of this total assessed value. These are the 3 columns I added in the past couple of days. Is the home waterfront? Because our home is waterfront on Northwest Creek. Is it waterfront? And then I wanted to separate out that total assessed market value between land and home. Okay, because we all know quality home is like the quality of the construction of homes is different. I'm not going to be able to see that because I am not a formal appraisal. I'm not going to be able to see if it's a Q2, Q1, Q3. For these other properties, I have it for my own, but not these others based on the information available. But I just wanted to kind of see the breakout here. So, and you'll see, you're not seeing this as close up as I am. Okay, so these were the 3 columns, O, P, and Q. That's what I added, okay? And then I'm going to get this to where it prints nicely on a piece of paper. I'm going to print all my calculations for where I show the prior years to show and ask, I'm just going to ask the question in the narrative since I can't seem to get a question answered on the phone. But I'm going to fill out this form to the best of my ability. I am going to submit a narrative. The outline of my narrative will likely be cover page, cover letter, the letter stating that I wish to informally appeal the property tax assessment for this property. Thank you so much for your time and efforts in reviewing this documentation. I look forward to decision and or a meeting in person to discuss this. And then I will scan this form in. I will add all of my other supplemental documentation to it, and I will create a singular PDF that I put in the mail with this form. That will be my appeal. I'm not planning to spend more than like 2 hours on it. So that is kind of, you get the new property tax reassessment, you do the informal appeal process. That's this form. Then we will be getting a notice. If you file an appeal, you will get a response saying, let me get you back to here. You will get a response saying, we agree with your assessment, we don't agree with your assessment, or we don't have enough information to find out, and they will send someone out to do a property assessment. And he said that could be outside and inside your home. So someone would need to be home to walk this person through. Look, this is not current. Like our kitchen's from the 70s, right? This is not current. No one's going to pay additional value for this. And then also, these are things that are new, or our yard floods more than 90% in case of the high tide, that kind of stuff, right? So we'll walk through all of that if we get to that. If there's a need to get to that point. And then we will be rendered a formal decision. We will get a letter in the mail that says this is what we reassess your tax value at after an in-person review of that property. And that could go up or down. So this number is likely to increase, decrease, or stay the same. Again, if you choose to appeal that, so your first appeal is with the county, then you can go to the county board of commissioners to appeal. There would be a hearing, Jeff said, for that process. And then based on the results of that hearing, should you need to appeal further, you can appeal it to the state. And there is a committee for the equalization and utilization of something, and that's not the right terminology, but that was what I was thinking when he was saying it. But there is a committee in North Carolina committed to making sure that things are of equal value. So we have that. Anyway, so this are my next steps. Okay, I'm going to finish out my workbook, which is not going to be much longer. I'm pretty much done with what I can do based on the information I have available to me. I am going to write it up in a narrative. I am going to print that to PDF. I will make copies, and then I will submit all of that in this form. Again, don't forget the deadline is May 22nd. So if you're planning to appeal, make sure that you're working towards that deadline. Whatever you need to get done, get it done. The other question that I asked Jeff was, when this happens county by county, do people kind of en masse go out and seek real estate advice from professionals and or hire appraisals to do this? And he said he would not waste his time or other people's energy and time or money to go through that process at this informal review process, that would happen down the road if that's something that you wanted to do. So having said that, I wanted to make sure I popped on really quick to give you the information about Jeff and kind of what his assessment of this was and where we are, and the fact that there is really no kind of formal of the informal evaluation, all of your supplemental information. There's really no guidelines on format, what should be included, what shouldn't be included. I am just going to take the cues that I have as from my professional career and what I know the federal government likes to see. And keep in mind, I mostly do federal procurement. So a cover letter, a title page, so like a header page that includes the property name, my husband's name as the property owners. The cover letter will include the intent of the supplemental information included. And then I will include a table of contents. And then these are the things that you're going to see in this appeal. And then I will put them in that same order accordingly. So I'm happy to share all of that with you. The other quick thing, so several of you know, and we talked about this, I think, on the second video, is we actually own 2 properties here in Fairfield Harbour. And so one thing I want to mention, so this property tax, the one that I'm focused on right now, it went up significantly, right? Like 20 something percent. And I know others have gone up more than that, so I'm not trying to discount yours. But this went up. So basically the market value of our property is much higher than the mortgage that we have, which is great, right? That's called equity. My other property that I own, the market value dropped significant, like tens of thousands of dollars, multiples. So I'm underwater in that house, right? Like, so if we go to sell and the market value is less, or the county feels like it will appraise for less than what we owe on it, then I'm upside down and I have some work to do to get right side up, right? So I am literally looking at both edges of the swords on both of these properties. So I will be doing this process, what I just have been sharing over the last couple videos, for both properties, because for very different reasons, I have concerns about the value. And I was sharing with someone in our community the other day. We went over and I had a glass of wine with them. And for me it's not, again, and we talked about this in the first or second video, it's not about the money so much for us, because this is chump change, right? Until they change the mill rate or something crazy like that. Tax values go ridiculous. Anyway, it's not really about that. It's about the principle, because I have 2 kids in school, and I have kind of, through my work in Mecklenburg County, which is a much bigger kind of more urban county than Craven, people don't know how to do this. So for me, doing this and sharing my process with you based on the information experience I have, people don't do that. And even the videos that I've gone through and watched from the county commissioner meeting, no one gets the regular citizen at their desk or at their kitchen table with the information they need to go through these websites and be able to put together an appeal that will not be laughable, and that gets the county the information that they need to understand where their citizen is coming from, and also understand from the county's perspective, this is why we're evaluating your property. And again, I've not gone kind of end to end with this. I've not continued my appeal beyond this first part. But it just really bothers me that and this, I have so many thoughts on this. I was telling somebody yesterday at the chat with Chip, the fact that we just expect people to show up and participate in government, participate in their duties and their responsibilities and their rights as citizens of a community, a county, a town, a state, a country. We expect people to show up and be involved and have a voice and do their part to hold leaders accountable, but they don't have the education, the experience, the referential information that they need in order to do that, because most of the time politicians and others are talking out of both sides of their mouths. They're not really saying anything at all. Documentation is vague at best. So for somebody to come out, let's say you bought your first home straight out of college, you're not gonna know the process without Googling. And the fact that, like, our literal answer to even my Googling, what is the format of a property tax appraisal appeal? I had to Google it. There is not just a, hey, citizen, here's where you go to find this information. And thank God for the internet and technology, right? But it should not be, that should not be our default answer, is to Google things. That's kind of how we have ended up in the shape that we are as a whole society. So it's the process for me, the lack of information and the lack of transparency, and how just everyday common citizens that go to work, come home, try to raise good kids, how do we get the information that they need to be able to do that in a manner that they can work in with school and extracurriculars and second jobs and things like that? This is not, it's just a lot. I have a lot of thoughts. I get really angry on the inside when I think about it. But again, it's not about the money for me. It's about the the principles, if you will, for lack of a better term. And so with that, I'm going to adjourn here. I have to go get kids to go to the dentist this afternoon for their 6-month appointment, but I will be back because I am going to kind of wrap this up and show you what my final appeal process looks like for this property, understanding that I am going to use the same process for my other property, but for a whole different reason. So I hope these are valuable for you. I hope you are having a good day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.